How do you handle conflict / do you fight? Have you felt any racism for being an interracial couple? We know when we'll get married. I don't know if we should say that.
We'll leave that.
It's a mystery. Because in the past, neither of us waited in past relationships, and so it's been different. Kind of for our first couple of days, he seems... Yes.
The one day.
No, other times he's... I'm nervous, y'all. I'm gonna talk to you. Because Richard threw me off my game. And now I feel like I've never filmed a video before. Okay. Don't look at me. Hey you guys, it's Jara. Welcome back to my channel. I'm filming a video today with a special guest. So, okay, let's do a cool transition. Hold on. Hold on, I'm gonna snap. This is Richard. This is my boyfriend that I've talked about before in other videos. So today we're going to be filming a Q&A, some questions that you guys asked us. I wrote them down. So we're going to be answering these. And yeah.
Good deal.
That's it.
That's it?
Let's get it.
Let's get it.
So we figured that we would just start with like telling our story, because a lot of questions were like, how did you guys meet and that type of thing. So we thought we would start it from the beginning.
Let's dig in.
Why don't you start?
Me? Our real story.
There's something else we usually tell people because our story is kind of like long to explain. So most of the time we're like, oh, well, Richard goes to ORU and I went to Victory, which is a church right across from his college, and he visited Victory too, so we just kind of say that. Yeah. And then he messaged me on Instagram was kind of what we usually tell people.
That is part of the story.
It is, but that's not the whole story.
It all started May of last year. 2020.
Quarantine life just began.
And I guess...
So, you know what happens during...
We're both bored.
What happened during quarantine life?
And we both had the Bumble app.
I love that for us.
Yep.
That's where we first met. And that's where... What I would do is like, I would have dating apps for like a couple of days, and then I would delete them because I would get tired of it so quick.
Same.
And so I gave him my Instagram right before I deleted my account.
Thank God.
So then Richard messages me. Here's the thing. Richard was very persistent from like the very beginning. What surprised me though was that Richard has a little boy.
Yes,
Cove.
I have a baby boy.
And he has a little boy. And so Cove was still very young then.
Yes.
And so whenever I went to Richard's Instagram, I was like, oh, like we had barely talked on Bumble, I think, but I was just kind of surprised. And I don't know, I think kids sounded like a really grown-up thing to me. And I was still 18 then. I hadn't had my birthday yet.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I hadn't. So I was still 18. So that just seems like a really big grown-up thing to do, is to have kids. And so I was hesitant.
Very.
For a long time.
Very hesitant.
I thought Richard was really cute and he was really sweet and he would talk to me a lot, was very persistent.
I tried.
But I was just hesitant. Plus, I was afraid to date and I wasn't looking to date at all. So that's why don't we talk about how it went for a while?
Her line to me was always, I'm in my single season. And when the time is right, then like maybe I'll start dating. I remember the first time I asked her out to church, which was Victory right across the street from my school. And she was just like, no, I'm in my single season and maybe another time. And I was like...
And he was like, oh, I thought it was just going to be church, but
just
okay.
church, but okay.
I'm going to pop up screenshots of this.
So yes, I asked for her number several times as well. And...
he like asked to play iMessage games and things like that. And I was like, I don't play iMessage games. And he'd be like...
I try everything.
You tried. For how many months, babe? How many months until...
7 months. I would constantly talk to my coworkers about Jara, show them her pictures, especially when she had her red hair in. They know her as the redheaded girl.
Y'all barely saw that. Y'all saw
dude.
that for like one video. But I had red
yeah.
hair, if you didn't know that.
So I would brag on her, like, check this girl out, look at how she speaks and how she carries herself. And they'd be like, man, you're in love with her and she don't even want you. Like, make fun of me. But I would constantly tell my friends and other people that I really like this girl and hopefully I'll get a chance at some point.
I didn't even realize it was this big of a thing to him. I thought he was just like casually talking to me every once in a while, and it wasn't even a big deal at all. I figured that, you know, it's just casually talking. Because I would talk to him too, like I would slide up on different things to have discussions and stuff. So what happened was it was November, so this went on for like all those months, 7 months. And then November came around, and we had been talking. What did you say? Was it, do you want to exchange numbers?
That night, yes. So I felt the urge once more to ask for her number. So I just went for it again. I was like, hey, think it'd be cool to exchange numbers?
Is that exactly what you said?
That's exactly
and
what
you
I
know
said.
What I said?
Yo.
I said, okay, here's the deal. I said, okay, here's the deal. You've been like very, I don't remember exactly what I said.
You've been very persistent,
and we can go out one time. No promises.
No promises.
Just the one time, and we'll see how it goes. So we had set a date to go out for the first time. November 4th. Our first date. Our first day, we went to this really cute French bakery called La Madeleine's. It's one of my favorite places to eat. And so I hop out of my car. I'm like, hey, like waddle over.
She gives me a hug, and I tell her I have a surprise.
He had told me during the day that he had gotten me something.
Yeah, so I had her close her eyes, and I open my car door, and I pull out her favorite flowers.
The week before, we were talking about gardening or something. I was gardening with my mom, and I said my favorite flowers was peonies, but I'd never seen them in person or anything because they're seasonal and like expensive, so I'd never seen them before. And Richard got me the most beautiful,
they're real pretty,
bouquet of peonies ever. So thoughtful. On our first date, y'all.
Yeah. I've envisioned doing that for our first date for a long time. Babe. I daydreamed about it over and over.
The other thing about our first date was that Richard seemed very small.
I was a tiny man.
That whole date. Like, he thought I was taller than him.
I looked up to her that night.
For some reason, Richard was very small that night.
Yeah.
Kind of for our first couple of dates, he seems... Yes.
The one date.
No, other times he seemed small.
It was the one time. I grew since that night.
We're almost the same height. I think he's like an inch taller than me.
Yeah.
You're a little bit taller than me. Pretty close.
Inch and a half.
That's a lie. But for some reason, he was very small that night. So I was like, no, maybe we could be friends.
Try to friends on me again.
The date was went really well though. Yeah. He was such a gentleman. He like opened my car door for me and all these things, and I was like, what is going on? This is not normal. So we ate, and then we went to Riverside, which is kind of like a park by the river, and we just went for a walk and talked. Yeah, it was good. And then I was like, we need to go on another date. I think the night was ending. Yeah. And I was like, when are we going to hang out again?
Yeah, which was funny because before that she said just the one time to hang out, no promises. Just a tiny bit.
And so then we started going on dates for 3 weeks. We went on dates and hung out.
Yes, 3 weeks.
Up until you asked me to be your girlfriend.
So, we were hanging out one night. We're gonna have a double date with her sister and her sister's boyfriend, Jake. And I pull out this letter and I start reading it and telling her how much I adore her and cherish her and want to be with her, obviously. And I end the letter by asking her out.
So that was when we officially started dating.
Officially.
Yeah. Yum. 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 Are we gonna look so far away this whole time? Yeah, I think that's kind of a good baseline on how we met, and yes. As we answer questions, you'll kind of get to know us more as we go.
So the first question is, what are some boundaries you have established?
So from the very beginning, we made it clear that we both were waiting till we were married.
Correct.
And we waited like 3 weeks to kiss. We waited till we were like officially boyfriend and girlfriend. Just really because, sweet. Yeah, it was really sweet. Because during that time, it was just really sweet to be able to just focus on talking, getting to know each other more. And also because we agreed that once you start to introduce the physical, sometimes it can become all about that, and we didn't want that. So we developed patience on that and waited. Also, this has been like a first for us because in the past, neither of us waited in past relationships, and so it's been different. Definitely been like a learning process.
It's a journey for sure. Through it all, from the beginning stages till now.
Yeah.
It's all learning and experiencing and figuring out what truly works for us.
Yeah. I think it's also important to learn each other's triggers so that in the steamy moments, it can get hard.
Yes.
And something that I always heard couples say is like, don't create the steamy moments, try to avoid the steamy moments, which is where we're at now, is we're trying to avoid even being in those situations. Because that's just helpful, because once you're in the moments, your brain is not, you're not thinking. It's just important to be on the same page.
Correct.
And to not beat each other up either. If you ever do mess up or do something, never take it out on each other. Never be like against each other. For us, we've had to learn that like we're in this together. We are a team, and so we're against that situation or whatever it is.
Each other.
We're not against each other. We're just trying to learn and grow.
Some other boundaries we set for each other. We went on a kiss and fast.
Yeah, we did. Yes. For like a month.
Yeah, for like a month. And just to refocus and not be worried too much about the physical. Kissing might seem small to some, but it can be big at times. So
it can become very consuming. Very easily would it seem like we would be losing a lot of time that we would spend together just because you're kissing the whole time. Especially at the very beginning, because it's like brand new. It's very exciting.
Yeah. Fun.
I like it.
Funny.
Something new that's been a step for us is that we decided that we wanted to get each other rings.
Yeah.
So
promise rings. I gotta get a little closer to see mine. There it is.
So we got each other rings as like promise rings / purity rings, as a promise to each other, and as just a reminder that we're honoring God with our relationship. And I think it's really sweet, and I'm happy that we decided on that. What are your love languages?
Starting with me. Words of affirmation, quality time, and physical touch, in that order.
I think mine were quality time first, words of affirmation, and then physical touch.
Yeah.
So we're very similar. They're just rearranged. How do you handle conflict / do you fight? Let me answer that.
We've never had a fight.
We've had disagreements.
There we go.
Neither of us are really like, I avoid conflict. Richard never raises his voice, and if I'm ever upset, I'm never a yeller. I'm more of just like, sit there and be quiet. Right? So we haven't really fought. We've definitely had like disagreements or where one of us is upset. but it's never a yelling or anything like that.
Never anything dramatic or over the top.
But how do we handle conflict? Can you answer that?
Talk it through. I think we always talk it through in the moment also, which is great. I have been known to kind of not wanting to talk it through in the moment and push it to the side.
Yep. But I'm like digging in. I'm like, we're talking about this now.
Right now. So
because why it's like that though is because Richard's more of like, let me think about it and kind of leave the situation, while I'm more like, I need to deal with this right now. Like I can't leave things unresolved or anything like that, and so I'm like, we have to discuss this right now.
Yeah. Have you two had any conversations centered around racism? You already know.
Black Lives Matter.
Matters. Actually, one of the main ways we used to talk was through her post and my post on Instagram about racism when the whole riots were happening, centered around all of the black men and women that were killed by police officers. So we had plenty of talks from the very beginning about racism.
Yeah.
And
it was something we would discuss quite a bit. We still have conversations all the time.
All the time.
Obviously, it's something that's very important, so obviously going to talk about it.
I believe one person also asked, have we faced anything together as a couple, like the side eyes or anything like that?
Like, have we, I think the question, let me see the question was. The question was, have you felt any racism for being an interracial couple?
And I haven't actually. I haven't noticed any side eyes, any weird looks, or had any talks with friends that were vile against Jared or anything like that.
Yeah, I haven't either. For us, it's been very supportive and very loving for us, and we haven't had any strangers or anyone be rude or anything like that. The only thing I would say is, like, I've had people, it hasn't been about Richard though, I've just had people like unfollow me and be rude or like try to argue with me. Of course, I'm sure you have too, about on Instagram and stuff like that. But not specifically about me and him. I've never had anyone say anything about us.
We've had a whole lot of support.
How long were you two friends before dating? And how long should Christians be friends before dating?
Interesting. How long were you friends? The seven
months?
It was about 7 months, somewhere in that.
We weren't talking that.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a daily talking though. It was more of like a casual.
I was left on red plenty of times.
Throwing shade at me.
Plenty of times.
We would probably talk like once a week or like, probably something like that. Sometimes it would go longer without talking, but for a while. And how long should Christians talk before dating? I always think it's good for people to get to know each other on more of a friends level before just jumping into dating automatically. Like, we went on dates for like 3 weeks before we actually started boyfriend, girlfriend. I did it all right here. Boyfriend, girlfriend, dating. Just because I think it's good to know each other before you're already trying to be romantic when you don't even know each other yet. You don't know anything about each other. Agreed. So I don't have like a certain time frame. There isn't really one. Everyone's different.
Yes, everybody's
also
different.
According to God's will and you hearing him. I know some couples really don't even wait to date just because God's already told them that they're meant to be together. So everybody's different.
Oh, when you guys are on a date, who pays? Who's paying? Me. I pay for my queen.
Richard pays 99% of the time.
Yes.
Maybe 98 or something like that.
Somewhere in that ballpark.
Most of the time, he's always paying. Every once in a while, I'll force him to let me pay for something. Like, we'll have a date night and it'll be my treat. Just because Richard's been paying for me every single
She's so sweet.
time forever. But we did come to the agreement kind of in the beginning that it would be okay if I did pay for some stuff sometimes, just because when you're in a relationship together, it's supposed to be 100 of 100.
Yes.
Instead of 50-50. We don't believe in 50-50.
No,
we believe 100. Keeping it 100.
Yep.
so that it would be okay if I paid every once in a while, and that would be all right. So, yeah. Jara, how did you know that he was the one? And Richard, how did you know that she was the one? Should I answer first? Or do you want to answer first?
I'll answer first. Okay, so I actually knew from way before we started dating. It was early June, and I was praying for a whole host of different things, and Jara popped up in my prayer, just her face and her name. And the word that came to me was wife. And I've only heard God 2 times, once before this. And I know that voice is that inner voice that speaks to you, and you know it's God. And the word was wife. At first I'm like, maybe I'm just caught up in my head because I really like her, right? But then the more I prayed every day, and just randomly, it would pop up again and again and again. So long before we started dating or even hung out, I knew and had the vision.
Something I'd actually asked Richard, like, on our second date was, I was like, why did you feel compelled to pursue me for so long?
It was her Instagram, really, how she portrayed herself. She always portrayed herself so pure and genuine and just a sweet girl. She was very modest in what she wore and how she spoke, and the things she posted also really caught me. Racial injustice, her posts about Jesus. She would always ask about my baby Cove and just ask about me, and that for once separated her from any other girl, minus how beautiful she is. That's something else.
So for me, took a little bit longer.
That's okay.
But not very long, honestly. After we met, it was our second date.
Yeah.
That I had called my sister, and I was like, I don't know, Jen, like, he might be the one. And she's like, girl, this is real quick. Second date. But that was just from like seeing him be a little bit more open, and the more he would get comfortable with me, the more he would open up and be more genuine like himself, because he was more shy at first, and
Very shy.
I felt like I was the one talking most of the time, and he would just kind of nod along.
Yeah.
I'm like, so but when it really clicked for me was one night, I had pulled out my list of things that I had written down that I really wanted in a husband. And I had written this list like a few months prior, because I was going through kind of a hard season. I was kind of heartbroken, and I felt like God was just putting it on my heart to write my list. I had previously written a smaller list like a few years ago, but I updated it and kind of dove in a little bit deeper. You laying down? You going to sleep? Good night. Am I boring you?
I want to lean back.
So I pulled out my list, and I was like, you know, he's probably not going to be everything, and that's okay. Like, I wasn't expecting him to be everything, just because in the past, any other guy was like a couple of things when I had like a whole list. But once I read that and I realized that Richard was every single one of them, I just knew that he was the one. And actually, fun fact, I was the first one to say I love you.
That's very true.
I said I love you like right after I had like read my list and figured out that he was going to be my husband. We honestly had only started dating like that week at the beginning.
It was 5 days before.
It was right before when we started being boyfriend and girlfriend. But I was like, I want to say something, but I don't know if it's too soon. And give him your face.
What did I say?
That you love me?
Oh yeah, I was like, you love me?
And I was like, I didn't say that. You were like, oh.
I was like, oh, okay.
And I was like, no, I do. I do love you.
And I was like, I loved you from a long time.
That's what he said. It was so sweet. He was like, I've loved you for so long.
So long. It's true.
When did you first, why don't we say that? When was the first time you realized you loved me?
Oh, right after our first date. Right after November 4th. Everything was just confirmed after our first date. Just how I felt this extreme amount of happiness and comfort and peace about how the date went, about her as a person. I knew. I actually texted my best friend that night, right after she pulled off. I was like, I'm gonna marry her. Baby. He was like, y'all been hanging out for 4 hours. What you mean? I knew.
We knew really early on.
Yeah.
Within the first month, we already knew that we would be getting married someday.
Yes.
So, have you met each other's families?
Yes.
Yes.
I live here.
He does. He's here a lot.
A lot.
When did I met his mom on Thanksgiving. Yeah, the day we said I love you.
Yeah. It was a very special day.
I met his family first. And when did you meet?
Actually, I met her mom. Yes, you met my mom that day, and I met your mom for like 5 seconds that night.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But he went out to dinner with my mom and me one time before he met my dad, too, because my dad couldn't come.
Yes.
I don't remember when that was. It was before Christmas. A while before.
It was a couple weeks before Christmas. I met Jen actually very early on.
Yeah, he met Jen.
That's before our second date, I met Jen.
Yeah, he did. I forgot about that. Because he brought me coffee when we were set up at a craft show. We set up Charming J, our boutique, and sold clothes, and he showed up and brought me and Jen coffee very early on. But then he had more conversation with Jen when me and him had a double date with Jen and her now fiance. Yeah. So he met her early on, and then he met my dad with my mom a little bit later. Yes. And then he actually came to my family Christmas with all my cousins and aunts and uncles and the whole family. So yeah, we have met each other's families. Yes. Is your relationship pointing you closer to Christ?
Yes, so we do morning prayers together. We talk about a lot when it comes down to scripture, because we both want to learn more, and obviously you can't learn it all, so it's a journey just finding out newer things and what benefits us individually and as a couple. So I do believe our relationship does point us closer to Jesus.
Yeah, and I feel like Jesus has been helping us both individually learn in this relationship. We've both been growing individually, being shown what we need to work on before marriage. So God's teaching us patience during this time and learning to trust Him. And I think He's also helping us with self-control. And I like things to be done a certain way, so I'm kind of having to learn that like things can be done multiple ways and it doesn't always have to be my way.
Yes.
So I think He's helping us a lot grow individually and also as a couple towards Him. This one.
When the honeymoon.
We're on a honeymoon. This is our last question, y'all.
Yeah, we've made it. It says, when the honeymoon phase is over and the butterflies fade, how are you planning on loving each other in a way that you continue to find joy in being together?
We actually talk about this.
Yes, a lot actually. Mm-hmm. I believe our honeymoon phase won't ever end, and the butterflies
we say
won't
in the
fade.
honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
We're currently still in the honeymoon phase.
We are, and it won't end. And my butterflies have not gone away.
It is kind of crazy, y'all, because we do spend probably every other day together, something like that usually. Yeah. Maybe less, at least 3 days together in a week.
It's usually like
4 days.
It's usually 2 or 3 days back to back and then a day off.
Yeah. But literally still, every time we're about to see each other, I get nervous, I get excited. It's still like that after these months. It is hard to say though, once you're married. I know it is very different, and people do tend to fall into the routine and kind of lose the romance of it all. And that's kind of something we've discussed a lot. So I think something we focused on and we focus on now and we will then is just being very intentional.
Very intentional.
To always take time to show each other how much we love each other. And I think we'll continue that into our marriage for sure. Yeah, I think that's our biggest thing. Still go on dates and things like that and enjoy.
Be adventurous still, like how we are, spontaneous, you know?
So thank you guys so much for watching. I'm sure Richard will be back for some other videos. Let us know what other content you want to be seeing from both of us. I think we'll do a video where he tries to do my makeup.
Okay.
Or what other Christian couple content you want to see. Make sure you like and subscribe. And I love y'all. And we will see you guys next time.